Kia ora, this program is brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Wellington Access Radio, make your voice heard.
Hi, welcome to the Blackhouse on 106.1 FM. We're here today with Kii Small.
Hi.
Welcome to the Blackhouse, Kii.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I spent a lot of time last night cramming on the history of Kii at 4 o'clock in the morning. You've done a lot of amazing things. But first of all, I'd just like you to talk about, just about how your whole start here in New Zealand.
My whole start here in New Zealand, for sure. I was born actually in Bermuda, so also the West Indies, raised in between Bermuda and Barbados. Came here when I was 12 years old.
Right.
Yeah, moved to Kaitaia, all the way up north.
Kaitaia.
Yeah.
How many little Kais were up there in Kaitaia when you were up in Kaitaia?
I was the only one.
You were the only one. Oh, you've had that experience. Great.
Yeah, so I did all the high school up there, and then I moved down here when I was 17 to do university.
Right. And is your family down here, or are they still back up there?
They're back up north.
Okay. And how was it in Kaitaia? I've hitchhiked to Kaitaia.
Really? Yeah, I was going to say, there's not really much, like...
No, there isn't.
Unless you're hitchhiking.
Right.
It's great. It's beautiful. It's exactly what I needed, I guess, moving away from the islands. Yeah, just the WAPs. A beautiful community up there. A lot of great friends. And yeah, it's somewhere away from the city, so it's nice.
Yeah. Okay, well...
Did anything about Kaitaia resemble Bermuda?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Just because we're talking about provincial New Zealand. Mm-hmm. No, just as a general.
I guess, first of all, the beaches, being so close to the ocean, and the real the reputation of having seafood and Kii Moana.
Now you got the 90 Mile Beach up there, right?
Yeah, the 90 Mile Beach as well.
So somewhere up there, I heard there's a Chinese boat buried under the sand.
Correct. Shipwreck Bay.
Shipwreck Bay, yeah.
Yeah, so that's just our ahipara, so that's about 20 minutes from my house.
Right.
And you just go swimming out there. But there's a mast that sticks out probably about, 50 meters away from the beach.
Right.
That's of the ship, yeah. That's why it's called Shipwreck Bay.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
I haven't been, I've heard about it, but I haven't actually been to see that.
Really, man, you gotta go. Yeah. If you love
I'm really I don't know why they haven't started digging the whole thing up, and you never know what's down there. There might be some gold or something.
I mean, kids just jump off it now. They just climb it and jump off into the
Wow.
water, so, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you lead this one, Tommy, so.
I was wondering, what do you think shaped your upbringing as what's called in New Zealand in comparison to Bermuda?
Bermuda was very fast-paced. It's very much of a rat race, so it's seen as a tax haven by a lot of Americans, and so it's very businessy. It's very traffic and I guess business orientated and stuff. But in Kaitaia, I could walk to Pack and Save with my bare feet.
Yeah.
It was really much that country sort of upbringing. So,
you could probably literally walk there in your pajamas if you wanted to.
I've seen people do it before.
I've
seen people, and that's the best thing about the city, that no one's gonna go at you for wearing your Crocs and your pajama bottoms to Pack and Save.
Yeah.
I think that's a massive part of my upbringing. Just growing up in a very bustly city, island, tourist destination, and then coming to another tourist destination, but it's not as fast. Nobody cares that much.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a very laid back sort of this lifestyle.
So with the COVID thing, with the COVID lockdown, has it been hit really hard economically, seeing as it's a tourist destination?
Yeah, definitely. I think it definitely has. But Kaitaia is also a massive farming community. So I wouldn't know. Look, I saw a post the other day from one of my mates of like, oh, the economy has shrunk. Oh, wow, like Qatar's economy has always been bad.
Yeah.
So like, but we're always gonna get hit harder. So I think in the next 6 months we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a massive community up there. They're gonna be fine. They're all gonna stick together.
Right.
So ever since you coming and living in Kaitaia since the age of 12, have you seen any other black families in Kaitaia? Just a curious question.
That's a great question. No.
Okay. Yeah.
Passing through, flying over.
Some Armenian family, if I remember, when I was in like year 11, and they were out East Coast, and they left like after a year. Other than that, I'm trying to think of it now. Nah, I really don't. No.
So your family really, really like Kaitaia,
Yeah.
or was it just like we're going to Kaitaia and that's it?
That's final. Pretty much.
Wow.
Because my parents grew up in Barbados, and then they worked there, and then they moved to Bermuda, and they worked there. So when they got to New Zealand, they're like, we're going one place, and we're sitting there.
Right.
You know? And they love it.
So are you Bayesian? Would that make you Bayesian?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm Bajan, so by like citizenship, by descent, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what would you say really puts you in the direction of like, I guess, using your voice and, throughout your high school experience? Which we'll get into later to the conversation.
And like through my high school experience using my voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading a lot about that last night. Like you're on a few councils, high school councils, and
Did you read it?
yeah, I was digging.
No.
I was digging. I had to have something to talk about.
It was so partly because both of my parents are teachers. And so they knew the importance of education, and they instilled that with me at like a young age. Also because I was popular because I was the only black kid at school.
I see.
And
Right.
so I could either use that to do dumb-ish, or I could use that as a platform to be like, all right, well, let me show like people like what black people are all about, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I chose the latter, and yeah, I just saw it as like an opportunity to really like paint a good picture for black people, like up north, and I just started getting involved in everything I could, everything good that I could.
Yeah. Positive and uplifting stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the councils were like, I was in the senior council, I was on the board of trustees, I was the student representative.
For your school?
Yeah, for my school. Yeah, I was never head boy, but like the impact that I had on the school at the time, it didn't really matter. I don't think. It sounds terrible of me saying that right now, but like I think if we look back, I was so much happier just being a regular student, uplifting like values rather than being like a placeholder. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when you say placeholder, come on, come on. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I feel like if I mean, like, at that young age as well, like, when I'm, like, 16 or 17, if you make me the head boy or something, I feel like it's nothing more than performative, right? Like, I'm going to these talks, or, like, I'm going to these places, and I represent the entire school. And, like, while that is all well and good, representing, like, an entity, like, you can't talk as much. You have to represent hundreds of kids, or even, like, a staff, or a whole school that has a whole history. So I can't really be out and talking. I can't be, like, out and doing all this stuff. And there's no disrespect to anybody who's been head boy or head girl.
Yeah.
But, like, as a student who was on the councils and then, like, seeing how that worked and seeing how staff, like held you in power and, like, also disregarded you in power, I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to use my voice as other things. And that's really what came through at university was, like, I know what positions of power do to people, and I know how quiet people have been in positions of power, so.
Yeah, that was one of the stories that you wrote about, and I think it's the one about I'm not here for the Kai.
Damn.
Yeah. And like you talked about that, right? You talked about that. You talked about an experience that you had and you were waiting to hear back from people and you're just ghosted literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that what do you think of that kind of treatment when people kind of like lift you up to this certain thing? They give you all this power, right? They give you all this power, but then they're not respecting that power that they're giving you.
Yeah,
themselves, you know.
It's no more than tokenism, in my opinion. It's kind of like, you know, they bring you to the table, but they don't want you to eat.
Yeah.
You know, and that for me was, I'm really glad that I experienced that at a very young age. If I had gotten to now and I've realized that, you know, not every single connection that I have wants me to eat at the same table, I don't know where I'd be, you know, so.
But you may be useful to them for something, right?
Exactly, like it always comes across like people are going to hit you up because they need something from you and hopefully you need something from them.
Yeah.
that's not always the case, you know.
Yeah.
And it's about differentiating that and understanding that, okay, you need my platform, and in most cases, a lot of Black people in New Zealand, it's like, you need my skin color to sell what you're doing, to sell your movement, to sell your idea.
Wow.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, okay, but what am I getting out of this?
Yeah, what are you getting out of it? Exactly.
I don't understand.
And I think that's amazing that like you were made aware of that dynamic at a young age.
Yeah.
Because like, do you think that when people get made aware of those things when they get old and crotchety like me, that we kind of lose the plot? It's like, I got power. You know, I need it. All these people can just suffer.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah, it's like that a little bit, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. It's just like that. I mean, I was angry at the time, but like, I didn't fully understand. Now I can look back and say, okay, that was a lesson. And I'm glad I learned that before I had like, you know, the confidence to get angry. As I said.
Yeah, because it is that. It is that sort of thing, right? I mean, the confidence to actually stand in your own truth. Yeah?
Yeah, it's a massive, I'd say, what's the word I'm looking for? Epiphany.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot from this conversation. I really am. Like, I never thought about, what's it called? Like, even that phrase, the confidence to get angry, and how it's actually, like, I guess, because Black people have always been seen as certain, have been viewed with certain caricatures, it makes it very hard because you don't want to actually embody those negative stereotypes.
It's as little as like me not wanting to like line up at KFC.
Wow.
Not line up at KFC.
Damn.
I go to Auckland International Airport all the time, and like, I want KFC, but I'm not gonna line up there.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Wow.
It's as little as that. It's like, I'm not gonna get angry in this coffee shop if somebody like does me wrong, because I can't.
Yeah.
It's not my place.
Yeah. And it's like, for me as a woman, and now like growing up here, I was labelled an angry Black girl from age 12.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
But then with, you know, my history, it's kind of like, well, you should have been bloody angry. You know, it's that sort of thing of like, you're not supposed to be angry. You're not supposed to show any of your anger. And so every time, and it's amazing how even people from our community want to label you that way too, when it's convenient. Like, you know, we're not going to entertain your opinion as an opinion or as something that's coming from you because you're a woman. You're just being angry and you're just being emotional.
Yeah.
Right? So it gets dismissed straight away. But we're not here talking about me. We're still talking about Kai.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no. That's a really good point. But we're gonna have to introduce our first song.
Yeah.
And the song that we will be playing for you is Genesis Owosu, from an artist.
Love this guy.
Canberra, if I'm not mistaken.
Canberra, yeah.
Yeah. So, good times. You're tuning into the Blackhouse 106.1 FM with Leah and Tommy.
I wanna know who he be. Devil with a dove and a bun and a dream and a manicure nail as I drown in the deep. I wanna meet, move like a priest. I'ma believe. She sounds sweet, I say oh gracias baby. We do our dancias baby. You paint your love just like a brush. I hang with Vasquez baby. And now if you come here with me, then I got nothing to prove. Your hips roll just like a wave. I'm trying to see just what you do.
Spend all of my money, all of my money, all of my money, all of my time. Could spend all of my money, all of my money, all of my money, all of my time. Good times, let it go. Sunshine when you walk. Hot times, let it roll. Sunshine when you walk. Good times, let it go. Just don't you worry about it. Sunshine when you walk. Hot times, let it roll. That's how you go about it. Sunshine when you walk.
Oh, now you all on my mind. You calculating my pride. I say I wish she was mine. And she say, now you had all of my time. Move slow, you dripping the wine. Enamored by your design. And she say, Now I hit or I either miss. Leg gon' defeat my kiss. Transform my heart to Swiss. Say the beach make me reminisce. Angry as scented kiss. See you within the mist.
Good times, let it go. Sunshine when you walk. Hot times, let it roll. Sunshine when you walk. Good times, let it go. Just don't you worry about it. Sunshine when you walk. Hot times, let it roll. That's how you go about it. Sunshine when you walk. Good times, let it go. Just don't you worry about it. Sunshine when you walk.
Hi, you're back with the Blackhouse, and we're here with Kii Small, and we're going to talk a little bit more up to you about your time at uni and Salient. Tell us a little bit about Youth Parliament.
Youth Parliament, okay. I applied when I was in first year. I got it at the end of first year, so I started in second year. And I was the Northland Youth Member of Parliament under Winston Peters. Yeah. So he was
The Winston Peters.
Why are everybody laughing?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was able to work, basically like do a lot of work for Northland Youth and be able to speak for them for the first time. As we just talked about positions of power, it was good to like actually get some like leadership training and sort of take some lessons off Winston to properly represent a constituency basically. And yeah, did Youth Parliament in July, got an award for it, and yeah, I guess everything else is history. Yeah.
How did you find... Okay, no, actually, I won't even ask that. I'm going to ask you, what were the things that Winston Peters taught you? That's what I want to know. Because I'm trying to figure out how he's been around, like, right next to the position, Prime Ministership, for so many years, but he hasn't become the Prime Minister, but he's controlled the what's happened in Parliament. He's had that power position of being kingmaker. So you're like, did he give you any clues?
I don't know if I'd be able to talk about them on air. What I learned from Winston was basically, first of all, how to be relevant. How to continuously be relevant. And I'm not saying that he plays on that tactic a lot, but I'm like the lessons that he taught me were, you know, when to speak and when not to speak, when it's your choice and when it's your time to speak and things like that, as well as how to represent the 20% instead of the 80%. How to represent the minority in a way that it doesn't make them feel like played upon, you know, things like that, and also just watching him speak, watching like his office work, and understanding how he wrote speeches or how his speechwriting team wrote his speeches were like more things that I learned just being around him than actually speaking to him. Yeah, it's like honestly, it's a sensational time. Youth Parliament was an amazing like mentorship time for me and learning a lot. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot, obviously, but I respect that guy outside of politics because what he did for me was insane. Okay.
Well, I'm curious, like, was that a part of? So you did BTO, what's it called? You were the BTO representative at your school, and you did a couple of other things at your school. Was this just kind of like a lead up? What's it called? You know, joining Youth Parliament or applying for Youth Parliament?
Damn, that's a great question because I don't think I've ever talked about this. In year 12, Honi Harueda came to my school because Youth Parliament happens every 3 years. And when I was in year 12, he was looking for young people to be youth parliamentarians for Northland because that was his constituency at the time. So he gave a speech, but he only wanted Maori students.
Oh, wow.
To be the youth MP for him. Okay. And like looking at like the diversity and inclusion, like fair enough, in my opinion, like he was, I think, on the Maori role anyway. So I was like, fair enough. But that actually just like fired me up to do it.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was like, okay, well, if he only wants, like, Maori students. And I don't think he actually got one from Qatar College. I don't think anybody applied because nobody wanted to do it or nobody wanted to work under him or with him. So, I don't know why.
Was there any reason for
I don't know why. I'm not, I can't be dispelling that information.
Yeah. Okay, well, my thing is when you, because like I remember being in year 11, I think, 11 or year 12, and then I see this black guy on the youth parliament, because like I had been doing NGO stuff myself, and I was just like, who is this person? and then like I was actually doing youth radio here, and I interviewed Kai then. But my thing is like with the fact that you've like finished your degree and you've done all these things associated with like, I wouldn't necessarily NGO, but governmental work. Do you see yourself going into government, like politics, or would you rather be politically adjacent, like outside the beehive?
I'd rather be politically adjacent.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, the whole being that guy, being that person in politics, like I could never do it. I thought it was something that I wanted to do, and then in that 6 months of doing youth parliament and learning from Winston and watching all the other MPs like sort of sweat it out, I don't think it's something that I don't think it's somewhere where I can make a lot of change. I can make more change outside of politics than inside politics.
So are you talking more like policy than?
Yeah, I'm talking not just policy, but also just like starting conversations, like starting to educate people. And like when you're in politics, you got to play party politics.
Right.
You got to get the vote. And I think a lot of people talk about it when they bring out Winston Peters and me. They're like, don't you feel like he plays on the xenophobic vote? I'm like, of course he does.
Yeah.
He has to. And I'm not saying that he should, but I'm saying that like once you're like a politician, you got to play on something like that. You have to play on a vote. And that's not something that I can do. I can't put my heart into that.
Do you think that's more just if you want to survive in politics, or it's because it's going to help you actually get the things you want passed? Because sometimes I wonder whether it's more about actually surviving in politics than it is about what you're standing for.
Absolutely. It turns into that. It absolutely turns into that, because you need ride or dies, right? When you're in politics, you need those people that are going to show up to the voting booths and vote your name, 2 ticks, whatever. And that you need that. And if those people like cheese and somebody said they hate milk, you got to hate that person now, because you need to stand with those people. Those are your constituents. Those are your ride or dies. And whatever they hate now, you hate.
Yeah.
Whatever they love, you love, because those are your votes. That's the only way you stay alive.
All right.
Have you noticed that like every single time we have a general election?
Oh yeah, man. And I can call it when I see it as well. We were just talking like a year ago about how National are now going to go so far right. Well, no, I don't want to say far right because that's such a term now, but like they're going to go a little bit more right wing because they need to.
Yeah. Because
there's a lot of people. We're all like almost dispelling, right? We're getting further and further away, left and right or whatever, white and black. And now they need the votes. You know, they're not going to be happy with tearing down statues.
I noticed that as well with this new guy. Yeah.
Oh, Todd Muller, yeah. The Make America Great Again. Hey, that's not a mistake.
Yeah,
that's no mistake. What do you mean? He just left it on the shelf.
He's a Trumpian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but like that's once again, that's what he needs to play as. And I think somebody pointed it out as well that in one of his videos he had the Tino Rangatira flag upside down, and I was like, that's not a mistake.
It's not,
because when you're at that level as well, you are double checking your tie color. You know. Yeah. You're double checking your cufflinks, and you're gonna have a flag upside down in the background, and you're telling us that's a mistake. Nah, he knows who he's playing to.
Yeah,
and that's that. I could never do that, bro. I could never be that politician. I could never work with people like that.
Wow, that just took me aback just a little bit, because like I guess when it's said, you always like think about it. You're like, oh, they're definitely gonna do this, but not really having the conversation, because we're actually having a general election. You know, really, really soon. And I guess we're going to be seeing, you know, who will rule our government in the next couple of years. Which is,
it's true. Like, I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's like, it's amazing how the polarization of politics that's happening, you know, in America and in Britain. And everybody seems to have a leader with red hair and a bad haircut. And now we've got the same, it's starting to look like that down here too. I mean, I watched a debate in Parliament the other day, and his whole position, the way he positioned his body was like, you know, like somebody who was a bully when he was talking to Jacinda Ardern across the house. And I just thought, hang on, you know, like she's answered this question in every single way possible that she could answer it. And in the end, she just sat down and said, look, I think I've answered that already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he was just being this relentless kind of bully with the questions.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, okay, so we're gonna be getting to this level of Aussie politics. And I saw a lot of that in Australia. Yeah.
And he's got to be, because his voters are going to want to see that. His voters are going to be like, hold Prime Minister to account. It's all right, well.
And I don't know how well that's going to fare for the small win, which I'd say is a small win, but it's a win that we've had with just getting this attention on people who are in the low incomes and benefit classes. They've been the scapegoats for nearly 4 decades of everything wrong with New Zealand. So that's your single mums, that's your, low income wages and, income earners and stuff, and people who live in socialised housing. We've been the one that everybody blames, and I just don't know how with a national government with that kind of leader in New Zealand, how that will pan out. But I can see what it does in Australia.
Right. Yeah. And Australia's the bigger case study. So.
Yeah. So was that kind of was that sort of intimidating, or was it just it was an ethical thing that you just couldn't do it?
It's just an ethical thing. Yeah, I can't. I mean, I'm from the West Indies.
Yeah.
Know what my family kind of have been through, and what my family did to get here as well. I can't be selling out like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't look my mom in the face anymore if I did something like that.
Yeah.
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 And that's a thing too. Politicians should be representing.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. I don't know if I could. I don't know. Who knows? But on that note, we're gonna get into the conversation of media. In the next quarter, you'll be tuning to the next song, Sampa the Great. It's called Energy. She is a Australian African artist. So I hope you enjoy. You're tuning into 106.1 FM with Leah and Tommy. And this is.
Nation, you realize all the time we wasting. You realize all the pain we facing. Please pour a cup, feminine libation. My gosh, we raising. Please sympathize all the lies we raising. Please realize all the time. Family energy, drink a couple quarters on my chorus, then I code up. If I rule the world, money stacks for all my daughters. Never ask for payment in the womb ×9. Now we see the blood on the street times try. Feminine energy, balance up the indestructible in the vaginal. Heaven in thine, heaven is mine. Spiritual, lyrical, mother sang sweetest taboo, rickle kind. If I was astonished by the level of shame, feminine energy reign. Intuition and ambition, intuition shine. Intuition and ambition running through my veins. Pour out the love, let the healing begin. The birds and the bees ain't got nothing. The birds and the bees ain't got nothing. Energy.
Fanboy, I beg you listen me. I beg you open your ears for any waiting that they say. Waiting that they talk. Now serious talk at they talk go. No be Telangaye speaking. Listen. In this world we deal. Members say ya one day go come.
when we all go, before long, we go meet Mama Godo. When we dey meet Mama Godo, tell me, waiting, you go say.
With my life jam nation, you realize all the time we wasting. You realize all the pain we facing. Please pour a cup feminine libation. My gosh, we raising. Please sympathize all the lies we raising. Please realize all the times. Female energy, 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 times sorrows. Carry all the weight of the world on your shoulders. Give a couple crowns to the woman who had bore us. Told us, focus, love and support us. Magical, umbilical, my universe is radical. Introduce the nation to embracing what is factual. Feminine energy, almost mathematical. You can't really sum up what is infinite and valuable. Feminine energy, balance up the indestructible in the vaginal heaven in thine. She sing a melody to pass the time. Give us her energy so she heal mine. If I was astonished by the level of shame, feminine energy never shame again. Rain, tamed, brain, praying, intuition and ambition running through my veins. Pour out the love, let the healing begin. The birds and the bees ain't got nothing.
You're tuning into The Blackhouse with Leah and Tommy, and our guest here today is Kii Smalls. What I really want to get into is the topic of media, and because we're gonna let them know about what media platform that you were a part of. Before we get into that, I really want to know, what does being a writer mean to you?
Whoa, being a writer. I feel like there's no writers. I feel like there's just good stories. You know? Like, people call me a writer, but really I just know how to, like, tell a story. That's basically what I think a writer is. If you can tell a story, then you can write anything you want, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, that's I hope that...
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Okay, so I guess we're just going to break it out. The publication is Salient. It is a Victoria University company or magazine.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about that. Like, did you start writing as soon as you did your first year at university, or when did you really? What prompted you to get into that?
Okay, first year I was a guest on a radio show on first year, and then I went on to co-host a radio show in first year. Second year, I then hosted my own radio show called Kii and Tom, where we just talked about general news and then sort of got a little bit investigative into some things. Like, for example, we've sort of calculated whether we could, like, raise a family on minimum wage, things like that, like that were topical at the time. Third year, I became the radio manager. Did I? No, third year, my radio show got a lot bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. And then fourth year, I became the radio manager.
Okay.
And then last year, I was the editor-in-chief.
So what I want to ask is, was that just like the cherry on top, being the chief or director of the magazine? Or was it just like what did it mean to you?
I wanted that. I wanted that as soon as I stepped in the room. The radio, when you're in radio, I mean, y'all will know this as well. People don't really respect you. People will say, oh, they're just going on to talks and whatever, and then leave. And I went onto the radio station and I had ideas. I was writing a script for this radio show. Like, we were going to get it. And I think, like, in the second year of the radio show, people realized that, oh, these guys are, like, seriously here. They want the top. But I wanted to be editor because I walked in and there were no, like, black people. There were no people of color, and there was nobody writing the, like, people of color stuff anyways. And I was like, I want to be not just involved in this, but like my energy at that time was like, I'm going to come for the top. I want the crown. Like, this is going to be mine.
Can I just ask the question? So Salient, is what you're saying, is Salient not just a magazine, but it's also a radio station?
Yeah, so it's a whole media
okay.
company. Yeah, so they have a radio station. Well, now it's a podcast network.
Right.
Magazine, and then they have Salient TV, which does video stuff.
Wow, it was only a magazine when I was there at uni.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really surprised that it's branched out like that. Where actually do they have the
studio is inside the office itself. The office, I don't know when you went to university, but the office had moved in 93.
Right, okay.
To the old University Student Association office.
93. No, I started in 98, finished in 2003.
So the VBC, Victoria Broadcasting Company, started in, I think, 01 or 02.
Oh.
Yeah. And then that became Salient FM.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Completely missed that because I was a single mum raising a family as well.
Yeah.
You're doing way more important things there.
Yeah, than anyone, really. My curiosity is, did you ever feel any sort of pressures going into it? Because, but then again, you're saying that you went in there knowing that you wanted the crown. So were you even bothered by any sort of pressures coming from the black community, perhaps, or coming from just being like the only black face or even person of color in these spaces?
Black people didn't pick up Salient anyways. So I knew that I was like coming in, and like I could just come in with anything and I'd come in with the fire. So knowing that black people would support me as soon as I got to that level was like, all right, that's it. That's all I need to like keep going. And yeah, as you said, like if I'm coming for the crown, like I'm going to just keep writing about my experiences and the experiences of like my people. And like y'all going to have to read it. Like I want black people picking up the magazine. That's a win for me. Like if you're picking it up as well and you're learning something, good for you. But you've had this magazine for so long. I'm gonna like give you some other stories to like read.
Yeah, make space. Isn't
Yeah, exactly, and like make space or move out the way.
So how did people react in the Salient environment to this? Were you supported, or was it kind of tongue in cheek? Was it kind of like, what do you think you're doing?
That's a great question. I mean, look, as I've always, I'm 6 foot tall. I wear a gold chain. Nobody's ever gonna come up to me and be like, I don't like what you're doing, especially not in like a magazine or a writing space. But the first article I wrote was Denim Overalls Are My One Weakness, which was about me finding a lovely young woman who was wearing denim overalls at a party, and then we went on a date, and then she told me basically that she was only interested in me because I was black.
Wow.
Right? But the whole office at Salient and everybody that read the article was like, took it as Kai loves denim overalls. And that's when I knew, I was like, all right, I got to change some stuff in here, because y'all did not read the article as any other black person read it. Like black people were coming up to me and being like, I love the article. And they were telling me stories about this happened to me, or like, yeah, this girl said something to me, or even guys with like black women are like, yeah, like just choosing them because of their race. And
how like are black men actually seeing the objectification in that?
That's it. Like when I started writing about it, people were like, true. So I started that conversation. I don't want to say I started the conversation, but I put that conversation out there for people to start back again. And some of my friends were even like, I didn't even realize, because some of the women that they were with at the time had been doing that.
Wow.
And we've got a long history of that in New
Exactly. We have a very and I'm so glad that we're talking about it now. But my biggest concern, which was like back to your question, Tommy, was people were reading it and being like, oh, he's talking about denim overalls. Oh, he has a thing for denim overalls. And I was
completely missing the point.
I was so pissed off, man. But that's how I knew that like I had to keep going. I had to just do more. I had to tell those stories.
Did you think the people that said that were really missing the point, or they just didn't want to talk on that topic, so they moved the point?
I think the latter, really. Yeah, I think they didn't want to talk about that was happening.
Yeah.
And I mean, they couldn't even put themselves in my shoes, and fair enough. Like, I think that men have too much of a platform to talk anyways. We got to let our women talk. So when they heard me talk, they didn't think it was going to be of anything like of substance.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, too many guys were writing about their dating lives and their dating experiences, but this one just had a little bit of spice, had a little bit different, but people really weren't grasping on it yet. But that's okay. Yeah.
My curiosity is when you released the Black issue, I only saw it recently how you got responded by another publication at the University of Auckland, and it was referred to as, I don't know if we can say this on air, but essentially the male genitalia, to say the least, issue.
So that was...
What?
Exactly.
So basically, I released the Black issue, and the Black issue was meant to just call out the way we say the word black or the way we see the word black. And so instead of saying BLACK, I said BLXCK because I was playing on the fact that, like, sometimes I say it as if it's a swear word. Sometimes I, like, say it under my breath, and I hear people say it under their breath and things like that. And now the thing is, I'm not even sure what happened with that issue with the Auckland University one, but I met the editor after that, and we were good friends, and I think we still are friends now. But she made a joke like, "I don't understand why you put an X there, so we're gonna do the PXNIS issue." And I was like, if that's a parody, then this is exactly what I've been trying to, like, educate. It's like, you don't even understand what that issue meant for everybody in Wellington.
Yeah.
So if you're playing on a parody there, do it.
Yeah.
I dare you.
Yeah.
And I don't think she did it.
Oh, wow.
But she wrote about doing it in an editorial.
Is that what you read?
Yeah, no, I had seen
because after she said that, I was like, all right, they're gonna do it, and I just didn't look at it ever again. I never read the magazine ever again.
I mean, it's such a juxtaposition of tropes, like really, like, are we still at that level in New Zealand? And considering that we've got Google in everybody's pocket, nobody can pick up a book anymore and educate themselves about this stuff.
Exactly.
So that Black issue was very special to me, though. So
yeah, that's good because I think last year, just being a student, that was my first year of uni. Being a student and just reading the publication and just knowing that you were, like, leading it. I think, like, for everyone, it meant something, to be honest, because, like, we were seeing stories that were not so, one-dimensional. When I say one-dimensional, I'm just referring to just, white stories, to say the least.
I found Salient got really boring when I was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I looked at it, but I wasn't, I'm not engaging in that. Yeah, it was all the same thing, and it all centered Pākehā people, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but that was a long time ago,
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to change that. We understood that. We wanted to come out with, like, like, we're just doing some old stuff now. So,
that's good. That's good. As a matter of fact, like, I've been reading the current Salient, and I'm just loving it. Like, I think the current presidents, co-presidents, they're doing a good job.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job, and I'm really proud of them, honestly. They do well, but, like, we had to start that change, and I'm really glad that it's kept on going, you know?
Ongoing.
Yeah, I don't know if there'll be another Black issue, but sometimes, that can just be something in history.
Yeah.
I'm always happy about that.
So there's more black people working at Salient now after you've left uni?
Yeah, there are more there are more Black writers. They're more like just people of color as well. Like, I wanted to bring in, we did the Wan Salwada, which was the first Pacifica themed issue of Salient as well. Because
what year was that?
That was my year as well.
Wow, it took that long?
Yeah,
2019.
I know. So, but I just didn't like how we were grouping Maori and Pacifica. Just like as one term. So Te Ao Marama was its own issue, and then Wan Salwada was like its own issue, and that just needed to be. And now that that happened, just as the same as the Black issue, there are now more, like, Pacifica people writing for Salient.
Right.
And so there's no more of this white liberal feminist magazine.
Right.
Oh.
I don't want to say it like that, but, like, that's what it was for so long, and we got tired of picking it up.
But there are a lot of the women that like black men.
Wow. I'm gone. Wow.
Yeah, but that's what we needed to change it as. So I'm glad to see there's a lot more color in there now.
Me too. On that note, I guess you guys are going to be listening to an incredible tune. She is a Auckland-based artist. Her name is Jess B, and this song is Bump Bump. You're tuning into 106.1 FM with Leah and Tommy. This is The Blackhouse.
I was like, what you want? Hits like Missy, man, I'm tryna bump like, what you want? Snoop Doggy Dogg, man, I'm tryna pump like, what you want? Hits like Missy, man, I'm tryna bump like, what you want? Snoop Doggy Dogg, man, I'm tryna pump.
Pass the blunt. I'm knocking at your door, coming to the front, like, what's up? Tryna kick it, pump. I talk my own shit and I do my own stunts, like, yeah. One into the money, like, yeah. People tryna love me, like, yeah. Voice be getting loud now, yeah. You can't tell me nothing, What? Ooh, yeah. I be up in here, they don't know what to do. Tell me what you tryna get into. I'ma shake my thing like a peacock do.
Huh? Like who you? I'm riding around shining for the boo cool loop. Serve y'all like the drive-through, cause the money got me acting brand new. I was high on her. What you want? Yeah. Hits like Missy, man, I'm tryna bump like, what you want? Snoop Doggy Dogg, man, I'm tryna pump like, what you want? Hits like Missy, man, I'm tryna bump like, what you want? Snoop Doggy Dogg, man, I'm tryna pump.
I do big shit, that's big balls. Big chef game cooking, that's big paws. Hit my line, yeah, baby, that's the big balls. Big star, shot calling, big lift off. I only say it once, never two times. See the way I floss, see the shoe shine. If I bring it to the function, then it's 2 dimes. Yeah, I'm a Cancer, baby, show my true signs. I be on my shit when the moon shines. And when I go to sleep, that's where the truth lies. They be checking on the girl, you never came to mind. I be rolling deep, yeah, check the troop size. Always in the lead, no need, no follow. No hollow talk, no false bravado. Light years ahead of you, word to Apollo. Bitch, I'm riding these bars from tomorrow.
I was like, what you want? Hits like Missy, man, I'm tryna bump like, what you want? Snoop Doggy Dogg, man, I'm tryna pump like, what you want? Hits like Missy, man, I'm tryna bump like, what you want? Snoop Doggy Dogg, man, I'm tryna pump.
Hey guys, we are here today with Kii Smalls, and we want to talk to him about what is his current projects, what is filling his time now that he's a graduate of university, he's wrapped up his, chief and editor of The Salient. What is taking hold of your life, essentially?
Well, not yet, not university anymore, thank God.
Yeah.
I am currently doing the Say So project, so a mental health storytelling platform.
Oh, wow.
Been working on that for the last 4 years, which is my pride and joy.
Where is that?
That is on Instagram, Facebook, and it's also on the website. And you can get in touch with us through the Instagram and start your own journal if you want at Say So Project. But that's one of my ventures. I'm also working at the Ministry of Justice, just as a deputy registrar. And
So what does that entail?
Deputy registrar just entails working at the courts and tribunals, just sort of exercising judicial power where necessary. And yeah, you're not a judge, but you are acting on behalf of the Ministry of Justice. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are you actually in the courtrooms, or are you in...
No. I could step into a courtroom apparently, but I never have. And I've only been there a little bit. It really is just a day job for me while I, just sort of fulfill my creative journey, I guess.
Do you feel like you're more of a creative person or a justice person? Because you're working in justice, or any, if
I'm
you're
more of a creative person, definitely. I don't like the. I gotta watch what I say. I want to keep my job on Monday. But yeah, I'm more of a creative person. I like to do the stuff outside the job, and I love what they do there, and the team there treat me really well and stuff. So I used to work in kitchens and stuff. So yeah, it's an office is a very different space from a kitchen.
yeah.
That's for certain. And you're also doing a project called Unpack?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us a bit about that. Really get into it.
Unpack is from
Promise not to steal any of your ideas, Kai.
Hey, honestly, if you could do them better, do them. Right?
Tell us about it.
On Sailing FM on the Kai and Tom show, one of the reasons that we got I think a lot of listeners, we started reading out stuff comments. The comments under stuff.co.nz articles. And the racist, xenophobic stuff and all that sort of stuff. So this year I was writing a podcast dissecting those sort of things for big headlines in 2019. As you probably know, the Black Lives Matter movement and a lot of the xenophobia that we've just seen in the last few months prompted me to just write it a little bit faster.
Right.
So I'm doing a podcast with Tabiso Sabanda, and we have released our first episode.
Oh, Wagwan.
Oh, no. Wagwan's Tino. He's Tino.
Yeah,
Tino.
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
He's another Zimbabwean.
Okay.
His name's Tabby. He's great at podcasts. He's got a great voice for it, and he's also a mad statistical data spreadsheets person. You always need somebody like that in your team, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we are unpacking stuff comments and comments on Facebook posts, on public posts of big headlines from 2019 and just dissecting them for what they are. Yeah. Because I think a lot of the stuff that we see online where we just say, oh, that's racist, and we're just like, all right, later.
Yeah.
But we let that breathe, and if you don't tell that person that they're wrong, they're going to keep saying that. They're going to keep thinking that, and those people have kids. And, they have influence. So
I'm really surprised sometimes when I read the really tone-deaf comments on Facebook, and even sometimes coming from people of colour just about another group that they don't know much about.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's so frustrating.
Because it's like sometimes I can see that they understand it for their own experience, but they don't seem to be able to apply the same principles when they're looking at another ethnic group. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's not even just tone deaf; it's getting to the point where it's just ignorant. And what we're doing on the podcast is season 1 is coming out as we speak right now. So the first episode dropped on Wednesday. The next episode will drop next Wednesday. So next week we're focusing on measles in Samoa.
Right,
and the epidemic there. But as we said, that's an epidemic. People still find the time to be racist, in comments and just talk about Samoa and the Pacific Islands. And we just did the Losi Filippo and Scott Kugeland case where a rugby player was convicted of assault and a white cricket player was convicted of assault. And if anything, the white cricket player's charge was a lot worse. It was sexual assault. And the comments under there were let him play the game.
Oh my God!
Let him what? He's just playing a game of cricket.
He just wanted the boy.
Yeah, and then the Losi Filippo case was just kind of get him out of the country.
Yeah.
Do you know? And it was wow, people it doesn't have to be racist, outrightly racist for me to be there are racial undertones here, and we need to start talking about them. So it's a 7-part podcast. And it's coming out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We just ranked, I think, 50 in New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Our first episode.
That's
right.
cool.
That's really good.
I'm really excited to see what happens.
And we're going to be able to find it on YouTube or where?
You'll be on Spotify, just Unpack Podcast, or Apple Podcast, Unpack Podcast. So
Sweet.
Whatever you on, check it out, yeah.
Well, speaking of, the fact that you work in Ministry of Justice, there is currently a petition, a clean slate legislation.
Yeah, amending it.
Yeah. And are you familiar with the petition itself?
I'm not, but I'm familiar with the Clean Slate 2004, I believe.
Yeah.
From my studies, not from my work, but.
What do you think? What we're trying to do with this is we're trying to get an amendment on the clean to be able to have discretionary powers relating to non-violent, non-sexual charges, and given time, of course, normally it used to be 7 years, and if you had nothing really serious, your charges would just sort of drop off, and you wouldn't come up in a security check. But with the clean slate, there's no it's so rigid. And even with some of these lesser charges that are like the traffic one, indefinite loss of license, even then at the Justice Department, you can reapply for your license after 3 years. So it's not really indefinite. But anything that was around that charge if it's like a minor thing, you are never clean slated ever again. And the thing is, today, the clean slate legislation has kind of, the whole thing about security checks has metastasized to cover nearly every job.
Yeah.
Right? And in the beginning, its intention was only really for those jobs, high-tier jobs, those ones at the top.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to work for government or you wanted to become a parliamentarian.
Right.
You know? So I'm just wondering, well, like, what do you think about, well, the petition, and what do you think about the clean slate legislation?
Sure. So,
itself?
I mean, like, talking away from my position, just as a person who has also started petitions back when I was in high school, I think a petition is a great way to just not just show force, but just show that like there are a lot of people out there like ready for it. It's almost like a digital like march, in my opinion, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm always down for showing support, especially in something like this, which, yeah, like there are mistakes that people make, whether it be in the past or in a totally different life, that affect them today.
Yeah.
And like touching on the Unpack podcast, that's exactly what we talked about as well, of like a sports person trying to make it new and something sort of chasing them. And
Forever.
yeah, exactly.
It's
forever.
like literally until you die.
Yeah. And like, is that fair?
Is it, especially when you've already paid your
dues.
paid your fines, you've done your community service, you haven't gone to jail, you haven't murdered anyone or anything like that. You have a traffic thing. And yet, like, at the same time, I've seen a lot of white men go up and get DUIs and all that, and they've been in court 7 or 8 times.
Yeah, like
and never lost their license indefinitely,
or they'll never lose their job.
And never lose their job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I am aware that it does affect people in our community, but I'm also kind of aware how we kind of don't really focus on that part of our community.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like, what if it makes us all look bad?
Yeah, they're not the shining stars of the community.
Yeah, and we do have a tendency for that as well. And I've sort of, I don't know. What do you think, Kai?
Well, we're short on time, so
we're short on time.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'll sum it up like this. I guess I've been reading for years about a lot of legislation, a lot of policy that's I don't want to say like outrightly racist, but just outrightly prejudiced. And I think that, you know, if you feel this is one of them as well, I'm more than happy to educate myself on this petition that you got going on.
Yes. Yes, and promote it on all your platforms, because this is going to help people, especially at a time where we're experiencing COVID-19 and everything like that. But to be honest, because time is time and, you know, it's never on our side, I want to say thank you for coming to the Blackhouse. And, you know,
we definitely want to have you back again.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yo, can I just say this is the best interview I've done.
For real?
Yes.
Yeah, this is like, you guys have not only done your research, but like the questions actually made me think.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's asked me these questions before, so I want to give props to y'all. Like, this has been amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the nicest comment I think we've received.
Nah, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we going into the next one?
I guess not, just because we've only got a couple of seconds.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
well done.
Yeah, this has been a lovely conversation, and thank you so much to everyone that is listening. You're tuning into the Blackhouse.
That program was brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Get your voice heard.
Thanks New Zealand On Air for funding accessmedia.nz.